Can you tell us, I know that when we've spoken before that your hearing started to go down in your late 20s, I think. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, my hearing started to go down when I was sort of about 28. I first noticed it going down because I had the volume of the TV up so loud, and it just continued to go down because the hearing aids at the time weren't as good as they are now. So my hearing was always sort of a little bit worse than the hearing aids could compensate for. Um, so yeah, it just kept on going down and down. And eventually my audiologist, and I had quite a few audiologists, but I haven't a very, very good audiologist at the time. She suggested that I went for a cochlear implant.
Ah, right, okay. And I think you've mentioned in the past that you went to quite a few different independent, like private audiologists.
Yeah, I mean, I went to lots of audiologists. I mean, if we had the time, I could tell you some real horror stories about it, but we haven't, so I won't, you know. Um, but yeah, this particular person, lady called Karen, just said that, we can't put back what isn't there, so we'll have to do something else.
Okay.
So I applied for a cochlear implant.
And when you and Karen you worked together, I think, didn't you,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
that referral? How long had you been uh, kind of managing with hearing aids up until about till that point?
Well, I've been since I was roughly speaking 30 through till I was 65, so a long time, you know. Um, but I just used to guess at things more than anything else. Um, you just have to compensate for things, don't you? Um, I, I was sort of dreadfully impaired when I was trying to do business meetings or things like that. I did a lot of work for the forces, for the army, so I had to go to the presentations, and it was sort of horrible having somebody kicking you under the table saying they're talking about you now, so you've got to stand up.
I remember when we first met, I remember you telling me about a fancy dinner that you went to, and that thing about being
Yeah,
kicked under
yeah,
the
somebody
table.
kicking you under the table because when you're being talked about, sometimes you're supposed to stand up, and so everybody can clap. And yeah, I missed my cue quite a lot of times. Probably one of the reasons I wasn't invited back very often.
The struggle then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the hearing aids have definitely progressed. I mean, they've progressed enormously since I first started wearing them. And the other advantage is now that it doesn't really matter what you have sticking out of your head or in your ear, nobody takes any notice. I mean, I've been wearing the processor for very, very close to 2 years now, and nobody has ever asked me what it's for
Oh,
or why
really?
it's there. Yeah, nobody at
Interesting.
all, you know. And I was expecting people to come up and sort of say, "What's that?" all the time. Nobody has at all.
And when, so it's sort of taking us a step back, when you and Karen, wasn't it, when you had that first discussion about going for a cochlear implant, what happened at that point? Because I know originally you were looking at a few centres, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, we applied to the Line Centre, and remember, Karen is in a private practice. She's not in the NHS. So we applied to the Line Centre, and we just didn't hear anything back for about 6 months. Um, so after about 3 months of not hearing anything, we sort of thought to ourselves, well, okay, we'd better apply to a couple more centres. We were sort of did the buckshot system and applied to as many people as possible. And the first one I applied to, or first one that we applied was Nottingham. So I went to Nottingham for the initial tests. Um, and I did this speech therapy test I think it's called the Arthur test, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I was dead on borderline. So they said that I should have to come back for some more tests. But in between that time, I got an invitation from the Emmy Centre to come to Cambridge, and I decided to go to them basically because they're much closer than Nottingham to me.
Yeah.
It's only down the road. So I did a similar test, the Arthur test there, and because I knew what to expect, I guess I didn't. I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't try too hard. I mean, we're all hardwired to pass tests, so I just didn't guess at the words. I sort of just thought, well, if I can't hear it properly, I'll just say what I can hear, which was pretty much invariably wrong. I think I got about 30%.
Interesting.
I did it again.
Yeah, and it's something that I've heard before actually, in terms of particularly when you've had a hearing difficulty for such a long time, and in audiology, like we'd say a progressive loss, you get very good at guessing or filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, and it's interesting what you say about that test, because we then can often get really good at making sense of sounds, in order to try to make it make sense in our brains and attach language to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you have a hearing impairment, you become very, very good at guessing, lip reading. I mean, COVID was an absolute nightmare for me because you had to wear masks, and I didn't realise how much I lip read with people. So yeah, I think the bar, in my opinion, is set too high.
Okay.
It's as simple as that, and it depends on how good your hearing aids are. It's very, very difficult because I couldn't hear. I could hear in specific circumstances with people's voices, with some people's voices, I could hear quite well. But if you put me in an environment that had even the slightest bit of noise or more than one person talking, then I couldn't hear at all.
And we've talked a little bit about doing that speech test in the assessment. I just wondered kind of how else you found all of the other testing and then leading up to surgery, how you felt about all of that.
Well, I think I've said before, the testing after that with MRI scans and CAT scans and things like that. I mean, the thing that was most worrying to me was that because of the disease I have, there's a lot of bone growth apparently around the inner ear. So I was told years ago that cochlear implant might be a way for me to be able to hear better, but the operation was going to be very difficult, trying to get the wires through the bone.
Oh, okay.
So I always had that in the back of my mind all the time. And so with the actual process itself, it didn't worry me at all, strangely. I mean, I wasn't in the slightest bit concerned about it. I was just concerned whether it would actually happen or not. That was the thing that was worrying me, not the outcome or anything like that. I mean, I was told by lots of people, my audiologist and other people, that it would take about 6 months before you could really hear properly. But I mean, my attitude to that was, well, I haven't been able to hear properly for 20 years, so 6 months doesn't make an awful lot of difference, really.
Yeah. And I remember you said to me before about sort of the advice around listening exercises and putting things like that into place as part of your rehab?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, part of the rehab is just listening to recordings and repeating the words. If you listen to music, try and pick the musical instruments out, things like that. I mean, after you're switch on, you know, I was very lucky because I could hear immediately. I mean, the audiologist that did the switch on said, "Can you hear anything?" I said, "Yes." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm lip reading, probably." And so she put a piece of card over her mouth and said, "Right, okay, what did I just say?" So she said a sentence and I just repeated it back to her. So she said, "Yeah, okay, well, you can hear all right, can't you?" So I thought, fine, okay. I mean, the first 24 hours sort of tends to be a bit difficult, pretty tiring, actually, really, because absolutely everything is at the same level. So if you can hear a tap, for instance, you can hear that tap of water, shall I say, you can hear that water at the same volume as you can hear absolutely everything else.
Okay.
Because your brain hasn't learned to differentiate between the sound. You know, I was standing, I couldn't differentiate between a car and a motorbike. So the speech therapist, when I met her, said, "Right, what you do is you go and stand on a roundabout and you watch a lorry go past you. You think, right, that's a lorry, that's a noise it makes. A motorbike, you think, right, that's a motorbike, and you know, so and so on." And I mean, within half an hour, I could differentiate the sounds. But I mean, I remember sort of texting my kids on, you know, the first night sort of thing, and I said, "This is awful," because I could like hear absolutely everything. But within 24 hours, that had gone, really. And within 48 hours, I mean, after switch on, you go and have it tuned up a little bit. The implant I'm talking about, processor I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You have the processor tuned up a little bit, and then you go back 24 hours later, have it tuned up more. And I mean, when I came home that night, I went down the pub to meet some buddies of mine, like I always did, and I could hear fine in the background. I was just very lucky.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, that's great. That's great. And now you're 2-ish years down the line, aren't you? Is that right?
I mean, I would have had September this year is 2 years. You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, absolutely brilliant. The technology is fantastic. You know, I can probably hear better now than I have done since I was in my mid-20s.
Wow. Great. Thank you. And one last question. I've got a memory of you telling me that you're a Bob Dylan fan.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you find Bob's music now?
Music's weird because if it's something which is quite simple, then it's okay. If it's something which is, I mean, oddly, I can never hear the Rolling Stones properly.
Okay.
I don't know why. When they're playing, the Rolling Stones always sort of sounds like a bundle of noise to me. But if it's something like just pure blues music, then I can hear it fine. And it's also much better if I stream it. TV I can hear pretty well. Um, yeah, all I'd say it's 90% good,
Great.
if you see what I mean. I mean that, you know, the last time I had a hearing test, a pure sound hearing test. I think my thing was something about 92% for a male voice and about 87. No, it was lower than that. I think it's about 83 or 84% for a female voice. I can hear male voices better than female voices. I think it's probably because, you know, I've always lived and worked in a pretty much male environment, really. You know, I haven't had that much connection with women's voices, you know. I mean, I think one of the things that they told me at the Emmeline Centre was to actually try to practice just listening to women's voices.
Well, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, good start.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
That's all right. Thank you.